You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, and you can't become the #1 drama on television without generating at least a little bit of off-screen drama. That's certainly the case with NCIS. The hit procedural might be popular now, but it wasn't an easy path. What went on behind the scenes to make this one of the highest-rated shows on television? That's a question worthy of its own investigation. Title troubles. Few people remember it now, but when NCIS first spun off from parent show JAG in 2003, it was far from a guaranteed success. In fact, CBS was worried that the show would be overshadowed by the network's runaway smash, CSI. So, CBS called the show Navy NCIS for the first season in order to minimize confusion over the similar acronyms. Showrunner and creator Donald Bellisario eventually convinced the network to drop the Navy part because it's totally redundant. The N in NCIS already stands for Naval. It's a lot to keep track of.
SOHO! LAPD! NSA!
NCIS!
NOURC!
Mark Harmon's rage. Bellisario abruptly left NCIS in 2007 for a very unexpected reason. Star Mark Harmon forced him out. Reportedly, the two tangled behind the scenes for months over Harmon's dissatisfaction with Bellisario's chaotic management style. It led to a showdown, and the network decided they could live without Bellisario, who was forced to resign. The show continued with the presumably happy Harmon sitting pretty. Bellisario still got the last word, however. NCIS Lawsuit Angeles. Given the huge success of NCIS, it seems like a no-brainer that it would eventually spawn a spin-off. But the creation of NCIS Los Angeles in 2009 actually led to a major lawsuit. That's because NCIS creator Donald Bellisario had a clause in his contract giving him the right to create the first spin-off. After he was forced off the show, CBS hired Shane Brennan to create the offshoot show instead. After years of legal wrestling, they settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. At an estimated net worth of $250 million, Bellisario certainly isn't suffering either way. NCIS Red. In 2013, NCIS was poised to add yet another series to its franchise in the form of NCIS Red. Introduced in a 2-episode arc on NCIS Los Angeles, NCIS Red was going to star John Corbett as the leader of Red Team, an anti-terrorist unit within NCIS.
One NCIS team isn't enough.
The network decided they didn't really dig what they saw in the backdoor pilot, and the series was canceled before it ever began. Instead, the network launched NCIS New Orleans. Don Johnson. Almost. Mark Harmon has been the face of NCIS for well over a decade now, but viewers could have actually seen a very different face in the role of Agent Leroy Gibbs. That's because the role was actually offered to Don Johnson first, and he turned it down. He wasn't the only candidate, though. Rumor has it that NCIS New Orleans star Scott Bakula was also on the original shortlist for Agent Gibbs way back in the day, since Bellisario and Bakula had previously worked together on Quantum Leap. By the time NCIS New Orleans came along, the showrunners knew the right man for the job was Bakula, because he's spectacular. Pauley Perrette's Twitter blunder. In 2013, actress Cody DePablo, who played fan-favorite NCIS agent Ziva David, abruptly announced her departure from the show. It was a surprise not only to fans, but to her co-stars. Around the same time, Perrette posted a tweet of herself wearing a shirt she received in 2007, which said, "I love my job." It seemed innocent enough, but it set off a minor Twitter war with DePablo's fans, who saw it as an attack. Allegedly, DePablo called Perrette to ask that she stop tweeting about the situation. Perrette shut down her feed for less than a day. She should have just worn the shirt instead. Perrette's personal life. While Perrette has clearly been the subject of real-world drama, she's done her best to turn lemons into lemonade by using her position as a platform for advocacy. In 2006, she revealed that her former husband Francis Coyote Shivers had subjected her to years of physical and emotional abuse. And just in 2015, after she was randomly attacked by a mentally ill homeless man, she began championing the rights of the homeless.
Just to be really super grateful to be alive, but the other part is that, like, my heart breaks for that guy, and it breaks for every single person that's out there on the street.
She's also stood up for marriage equality and even recorded music with a positive message for victims of abuse. Diane Neal's Twitter meltdown. In 2015, guest star Diane Neal launched an angry Twitter attack on NCIS New Orleans. Upset over safety issues she encountered on set while filming, Neal called the show's production dangerous and stupid, saying stuff like, "They just used me like a rented mule," and "these folks don't give a damn." Didn't go over well behind the scenes. Neal apologized and deleted the tweets. Some sharp-eyed folks on Reddit captured the drama and preserved it for posterity, however. Moral of the story, never tweet angry. A very important cameo. With 3 different shows and more than 20 combined seasons, the NCIS franchise has had a lot of high-profile guest stars. but none of them can quite match the star power of First Lady Michelle Obama, who appeared as herself on the series in early 2016. Her appearance was made in support of Joining Forces, a nationwide initiative supporting service members, veterans, and their families. Kinda makes that time Taylor Swift showed up on CSI seem pretty lame by comparison.
Lucas Black knows how to make an exit, and so does NCIS New Orleans. Heads up, major spoilers ahead. During the 6th episode of Season 6, called Matthew 5-9, Black's character, Special Agent Christopher LaSalle, died after sustaining gunshot wounds to his arm and stomach while on a mission to avenge the death of his brother. It's not easy to say goodbye to a key character after 6 seasons, but it's comforting to know that Black reportedly didn't depart from NCIS New Orleans on a whim or because of any behind-the-scenes drama no one knew about. Instead, Black exited the procedural for a very important reason: to spend more time with family. In a video uploaded to NCIS New Orleans' YouTube channel, Black, who is married with 3 children, explained his decision to part ways with the CBS series. He admitted that while the show has been, quote, so good to him over the years, the schedule wasn't always easy.
There's a lot of priorities in my life that get sacrificed for me to be here, but it's time for me to focus on those priorities.
It may be tough for fans to accept a beloved star has other priorities, but nothing but love and support has surrounded Black's dramatic exit from the show. According to TV Insider, the NCIS New Orleans showrunners said in a statement, "We had an amazing run with Lucas Black, and he has been such an important part of our NCIS New Orleans team. We are sad to see him go, but happy he will have more time to spend with his family." High-profile stars might sometimes use family as a fake excuse to exit an unwanted situation, but Black's coworkers seem convinced that his reasons are genuine. CCH Pounder, who plays medical examiner Loretta Wade, said in a video released by the show that Black wasn't all that concerned with the idea of being a Hollywood star.
The most important thing is to be a family man, and I think he's chosen that over all the other choices.
Black, who according to CBS earned his first film role when he was 11, has mainly worked on NCIS over the last 6 years. Newsweek previously speculated that Black might be leaving the show to free up time for other on-screen ventures, like future installments of the Fast and the Furious franchise, in which he plays Tokyo-based American street racer Sean Boswell. Black last appeared in 2015's Furious 7 and was also in 2006's The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Rumors of his casting in Fast and the Furious 9 have swirled for several years, but Black was also expected to appear in the 8th movie in the franchise, and didn't. While it's not clear yet whether Black will appear in Fast and Furious 9, it's also unknown whether any movie casting would have taken him away from NCIS New Orleans. As for what's next for the actor, Black didn't offer any hints about future movie roles in his own video posted to Twitter after the death of LaSalle. Instead, he chose to focus on expressing gratitude for fans for all their love and support.
Celebrate the victories and to pick me up when I needed it, and I appreciate that.
The actor also indicated he would miss playing LaSalle and remains incredibly thankful for the time he spent on NCIS New Orleans. He went on to say that he, quote, learned a lot about what the first responders do, and that he supports and respects the military.
And what a great journey it was. Thank you guys so much. May God bless you.
So far, much of NCIS New Orleans Season 6 has been about LaSalle's search for his missing brother, whom he then discovers is dead, and his team's attempts to help him in his quest. It's not clear where that plot will go after LaSalle's death, and a preview of the next episode of the show, excitingly titled Boom 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 Boom, only teases a new storyline involving bombs in the city. However, NCIS New Orleans star Nakar Zadigan, who plays Special Agent Hannah Corey, promised that LaSalle's character would have a major effect on the show.
LaSalle's character was such a big, important character to the show. It does have a big impact on the team in terms of not just the relationships, but personal stories.
Star Scott Bakula, who portrays Supervisory Special Agent Dwayne King Pride, also revealed that LaSalle's death means change for NCIS New Orleans.
We're off on a big, dramatic change in our world here for Season 6.
While the NCIS franchise is still going strong, ratings for NCIS New Orleans have sadly been declining, according to TV By the Numbers. Though it's likely upsetting for fans of the actor, LaSalle's exit just might give the show a shot in the arm for fresh plot lines for the rest of the season and beyond.
Well, the time has come. Pauley Perrette's Abby Shudo has now left the NCIS team. On May 8th's episode, Abby finally decided to pack her bags and head off to start a new life in London after enduring a gunshot wound and facing down the person responsible for her attack all alone. Fans have been bracing for the character's exit for months, and yet it's still a little hard to accept that her time on the show is through. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding Pauley Perrette's decision to leave NCIS after 15 seasons, but the actor is doing her best to dispel all of them. When Perrette first announced in October of 2017 that she'd be giving up her long-lived role as Abby, the team's intelligent and eccentric forensic specialist, fans wondered why she might step away from the career-making role after spending so many years in those Doc Martens. False rumors swirled that she was going to become a spokeswoman for a skincare line, but Perrette shot down that story right away.
And I'm like, what is going on?
In a note to fans, the actress confirmed her exit but denied the cosmetic connection by writing, "So, it is true that I am leaving NCIS after this season. There have been all kinds of false stories as to why. No, I do not have a skincare line, and no, my network and show are not mad at me." That might have cleared some of the bizarre rumors about her decision to leave. After all, she's certainly not the first actor to leave a hit series to pursue other projects, but the speculation still continued. This time, buzz suggested that trouble had been brewing behind the scenes and that the actress could no longer tolerate it. However, it's since become clear that Perrette departed on good terms. NCIS executive producers George Schenk and Frank Cardia told Variety that they had known for some time that season 15 of the series would be Perrette's last, and that everyone involved on the show wanted to give her a memorable send-off. The pair said in a joint statement, "From day one, she has brought incredible passion and specificity to the role. Abby is a character that inspires millions of fans around the world, and all of us at NCIS are appreciative of Pauley for portraying her." Perrette herself later spoke up to assure fans there wasn't any drama behind her departure. As she told TV Insider, "I believe in God and the universe so firmly, and it just suddenly became blindingly apparent that now was the time. After a lot of thought, I decided to announce it myself on Twitter because I didn't want it to be turned into anything shocking. Abby leaving is more than a cheap TV ploy." Perrette may be missing from NCIS in the future, leaving Ducky and Mark Harmon's Leroy Gibbs as the only remaining original cast members. But the mark she left on the series and the impact she had on its fans won't soon be forgotten.
Abby has been this incredible role model for young women. Thousands and thousands and thousands of young women that have been inspired by a television character, and now they truly are out there changing the world.
So, even though fans have said goodbye to Abby Sciuto on the show, her cultural impact will certainly continue.
NCIS Los Angeles has dropped a bombshell. Renee Felice Smith's Nell Jones is planning to leave, potentially for good at the end of the show's 11th season. But what's the real reason Nell will no longer be part of the show? On the episode entitled Fortune Favors the Brave, Nell's reason for wanting to leave is revealed. The job has changed her so much that she even struggles to get out of bed in the mornings to come to work. She confessed as much to Kenzie Bly early on in the episode.
"I don't think I want to be an agent anymore." Okay.
Kenzie tried to suggest that Nell rather stick to her old base of ops rather than going out into the field as an agent, but that wasn't the solution Nell was looking for either.
"Kenz, I'm gonna resign from NCIS."
Though Kenzie suggested a holiday and was supportive of Nell's confliction and struggles, she was somewhat less supportive of her desire to resign from the team. To be fair, the job Nell wants to leave behind is a tough one, with plenty of grief and stress involved. Between that and the personal troubles Nell has endured with her mother's illness, it's completely understandable that she's having serious doubts about her job right now. Nell was previously touted to be taking over from operations manager Hedy Lang, who has also been fairly absent on NCIS Los Angeles recently. She seemed like she'd be the perfect fit for the job, but just a few episodes ago, Nell's future on the series suddenly became unclear. Instead of pushing to keep Nell in the fold, Hedy indicated that she was instead now looking at Callan to take over for her when the time comes. Hedy being Hedy, it seems she was well aware that Nell's inner turmoil would probably lead her to walk away from the job opportunity.
"Now, be gone."
The episode closed with Nell finally telling Hetty that she was resigning, but the ever-stoic operations manager gives her another option before she makes her final decision. In Hetty's view, Nell is free to leave if she wants. But first, she's going to have to burn through a few weeks' worth of unused vacation days.
If I don't hear from you once they've elapsed, you can consider yourself resigned.
That unused vacation time indicates that Nell may well be suffering from a serious case of burnout. Between working as hard as she does and spending time at her sick mother's bedside, Nell's head is likely spinning too fast in every possible direction, which could easily be the cause of her high stress levels and lack of desire to go to work. When Nell walked away to tell Eric about her decision, she stopped for a moment to look around the office, seemingly saying goodbye to the place that had been a second home for her for almost a decade. Her relationship with Eric also seems to have suffered lately, with the pair appearing to have communication issues. A relationship between Eric and Nell was long hoped for by NCIS LA fans, who noticed their flirtations early on and hoped to see them seal the deal. It looked like the relationship was finally confirmed, but season 11 has brought them some unexpected troubles. Episode 19 saw Nell desperately trying to avoid talking to Eric at every turn, something that's not usually a good sign in a relationship when major decisions are being made.
Are you avoiding me?
What?
And even though there have been hints of Eric also waving goodbye to NCIS, the turmoil between him and Nell might instead see the couple split. Actor Barrett Foa's time away from the show during the early episodes of season 11 were to allow the actor time to appear in a play. His return to the small screen and the Ops Center has seemed to be fairly permanent, despite him previously looking for jobs in San Francisco, where Nell's mother is being treated. Nell isn't in the preview for season 11's 20th episode. If she has decided to leave, will fans get a chance to see her again? Or has she already disappeared for good? Like many other TV shows have had to do recently, NCIS LA has had to cut production on the current season short. Instead of the usual 24 episodes of season 11, fans will only get 21. This could mean that the uncertainty around Nell's decision may be dragged out even longer than originally planned if her vacation days haven't elapsed by the time the truncated season reaches its end. So far, Renee Felice Smith hasn't yet made an official announcement about leaving the show, but a recent Instagram post of hers directed fans to tune in to see a wistful Nell on Sunday night. The studio hasn't confirmed that she's definitely departing the team, leaving fans no option but to keep on watching to see where Nell ends up.
As the saying goes, behind every great man is a great woman. In the case of NCIS's Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs, played by Mark Harmon, that woman is his first wife Shannon, portrayed by Darby Stanchfield. We only see Shannon Gibbs in flashbacks on NCIS, as she and their daughter Kelly were killed in a car accident arranged by a drug dealer that took place over a decade before the show is set. So even though NCIS seems to be playing whenever you turn on the TV, Stanchfield's Shannon isn't as familiar as some of the other characters. However, there's a good chance you'll know Stanchfield from somewhere else. Here's why Shannon Gibbs from NCIS looks so familiar. NCIS has consistently ranked as the most watched drama in the US, but it's far from the only hit show Stanchfield has been involved with. One of her very first TV jobs was on an episode of Angel, the spin-off of beloved supernatural drama series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Stanchfield also had a small role on everyone's favorite box set of the Double Odds, 24, playing Mandy's ill-fated neighbor Sherry. Elsewhere in the early to mid-2000s era of her career, Stanchfield popped up on that 80s show, Monk, It's All Relative, Strong Medicine, Without a Trace, and Nip Tuck. Just before landing her NCIS gig, the actress secured a job on Jericho, CBS's post-apocalyptic action drama that ran for just 2 seasons before it was canceled. Stanchfield portrayed April Green, a doctor at a medical center in the fictional town of Jericho, Kansas. Her stint lasted just over a dozen episodes, with her character's arc ending in death. From there, Stanchfield took over the character of Amelia Joff on General Hospital for 10 episodes in 2007, and then booked a recurring role on the iconic drama series Mad Men. She played Helen Bishop, the divorcee who scandalized 60s suburbia for 5 episodes on the first 2 seasons of the series.
Of course, if he does die, I'm sad. I'm joking.
It took a while for Stanchfield to land another character who came back for more than 1 episode, but she worked consistently on many well-known shows. She has had one-off appearances on Bones, Private Practice, The Mentalist, Ghost Whisperer, and even How I Met Your Mother, on which she played the snobby former tenant of Marshall and Ted's apartment. After booking NCIS, Stanchfield doubled down on the crime angle with 2 separate roles on CSI New York and CSI Miami. You may also know her as Richard Castle's first ex-wife from the comedic crime series Castle. Having popped up for 1 or 2 episodes of numerous hit shows, Stanchfield landed another major recurring role in 2012. On the Shonda Rhimes-created political thriller series Scandal, the actress played Abby Whelan, the outspoken former press secretary and chief of staff at the White House, and the mostly loyal best friend and colleague to Kerry Washington's Olivia Pope. Stanchfield also got the chance to influence Olivia Pope's world off-screen. She created and directed a promotional web series called Scandal: Gladiator Wanted, which was released a week before the show's season 6 premiere. She must have impressed the showrunners because she later got the chance to direct an episode of the final season, the 15th episode entitled The Noise. If you're more into supernatural demons than lawyers, you may know Stanchfield from her most recent role. She played Nina Locke on Netflix's adaptation of the graphic novel series Lock and Key, which hit the streaming platform on February 7, 2020. Stanchfield plays the mother of 3 children who return to their father's childhood home after he is killed. The fun and fright starts when they find mysterious keys that unlock supernatural portals and attract a demonic force. Nina Locke is also an alcoholic, which gives Stanchfield an emotional new challenge to tackle in the role. Although Netflix hasn't confirmed anything yet, the ending of Lock and Key hinted that there could be a second season, meaning Stanchfield could be back for more spooks and scares. Either way, it looks like Stanchfield's long-running career isn't slowing down anytime soon.
With a strong cast and compelling storylines, it's no wonder why NCIS has managed to become one of the longest-running scripted series in television history. The CBS mega hit just wrapped up its 18th season, and the series shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. There will be plenty more crimes that require solving for at least a bit longer, as the network has already picked up the police procedural for season 19. But just because the show is coming back doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some major shakeups along the way. The main cast members tend to stick around for a while, with actors like Mark Harmon and Sean Murray being there from the beginning. However, other actors have jumped ship over the course of the show's long run, with their characters moving on with their lives to do something else beyond investigating crimes. And that appears to be what's transpiring with Emily Wickersham, who's played fan-favorite character Eleanor Bishop since season 11. The season 18 finale saw Eleanor undertake a secret mission, but it was unclear to some fans whether she would return or if this was the end. The actress took to Instagram to confirm her departure from the series, writing, "Hanging this hat and jacket up, what a great ride it's been."
It's awesome. It's been really wonderful and fun.
She genuinely seems to have enjoyed her time on NCIS, and there doesn't appear to be any bad blood between her and any other cast members. In other words, this doesn't seem to be the kind of falling out that's alleged to occur at the time of Pauley Perrette's exit from the series. Given the fact Eleanor tells Nick Torres she won't be back for a long time, it doesn't seem likely that Bishop will be coming back for any cameos anytime soon. With that unfortunate news in mind, here's everything you need to know about why Emily Wickersham is leaving NCIS. The actress announced her departure from the series with an Instagram post on May 26, 2021. Throughout Wickersham's lengthy comments on the matter, she doesn't mention anything about why she chose to leave after season 18 of NCIS. The most likely explanation is that she merely wanted to pursue other opportunities after playing the same character across 8 seasons and 172 episodes.
I mean, if we worked like regular 9-to-5 jobs, things could be different.
Being free from the rigors of a network show's shooting schedule would give her flexibility in choosing other jobs, or even just taking a break for a while and enjoying her hard-earned success. But what's most important for fans of NCIS is that it appears as though she's leaving on good terms with everyone she worked with over the last decade.
They're loose, like the whole cast and crew is like loosey-goosey, which makes for like such a nice work environment. It really does.
As she mentions on Instagram, "I've been lucky enough to be a part of a show where I got to show up and act and laugh and learn with wonderful people. A moment in time I surely won't forget. Thank you CBS and NCIS for including me in a part of television history." As you go down her post, you can see a slew of comments from her many followers have already come in, including one from the official CBS Instagram account, which posted, "Thanks for making history with us." Wickersham's co-stars, including Maria Bello and Brian Dietzen, also use their accounts to express their pleasure of getting to work with her for so many years. Wickersham's now free to pursue whatever projects interest her the most from here on out. While it's still unclear where she'll end up, bright things are inevitably in store for the talented actress. Wickersham's co-stars aren't the only ones sad we won't see any more of Ellie Bishop eating snacks while putting clues together. NCIS fans took to Twitter in droves to express their sadness at the season 18 finale spelling the end of Ellie, as well as the much-loved relationship between Ellie and Nick. Ellie Bishop served as an inspiration to plenty of viewers, including one user who raved about both her favorite character and the talented actor who plays her, writing, "Maybe some people will never understand why I'm so devastated, but I'm 31 years old. I grew up with NCIS, but I just connected with one female character. Emily Wickersham played Ellie Bishop, a powerful, talented, persevering, and empowered woman." Others talked about how Ellie had impacted their lives beyond the small screen, influencing the real world in a very real way. One person wrote, "Thank you, Emily Wickersham, for creating such an amazing character, one that inspired me to pursue a career in intelligence myself. Fans will miss you, but I think I speak for all of us when I say there's only one Ellie Bishop."
NCIS has stood head and shoulders above most of its police procedural peers for years, thanks to its lovable cast of eclectic characters and almost uncanny longevity. The CBS show has been running since 2003, and the ongoing season 19 finds the series as strong as usual. However, it's clear that the show's arguably most massive change yet is on the not-too-distant horizon, and it's been looking that way for a while. For 18 years, the stalwart leader of the titular investigation team in NCIS has been led by Leroy Jethro Gibbs, played by Mark Harmon, who was the backbone of the show throughout its first 18 seasons. Season 19 of NCIS has revealed that new developments, along with 18 seasons of hard-hitting investigations weighing down on his broad shoulders, have caused Gibbs to decide that he's done with his NCIS job and that he's planning to carve a new life for himself in Alaska. It's an understandable development for the character for anyone who watched the season 18 finale. The episode showed Gibbs boarding a boat that wasn't destined to last long. As it sailed out to sea, it unexpectedly blew up. Fortunately, fans saw Gibbs' body not long afterward, with him soon swimming to shore. It let everyone know Gibbs would return for season 19, but it definitely gave the impression he wasn't going to be around much longer. But what exactly caused the character to decide so? Or rather, what prompted Mark Harmon to join the many actors who have left NCIS? The Hollywood Reporter states Mark Harmon's exit from the show is a pretty final one, at least in his starring capacity. After all, the star is only signed for a limited amount of episodes for season 19, and Gibbs' decision to remain in Alaska pretty much removes him from the fabric of the show for the foreseeable future. What's more, the ongoing season features some brand new star power in the form of Katrina Law and rumored Harmon replacement Gary Cole. Harmon's limited episode deal means that Gibbs has effectively left his active role in the show behind. But showrunner Stephen D. Binder is quick to note that the actor will maintain a behind-the-scenes role, and there's always a chance for an on-screen comeback as well. Binder stated, "As an executive producer and dear friend, Mark continues to be an integral part of the fabric of the show. Our North Star has always been staying true to our characters, and that truth has always guided the stories we tell and where those characters go. So regarding the future of Gibbs, as longtime fans of the show may have noticed over the years, never count Leroy Jethro Gibbs out." That means viewers may not have shed their last tears over Gibbs just yet. If we were into betting, we'd be willing to put down money on Mark Harmon returning for the series finale, whenever that occurs. It's hard to say goodbye to a beloved TV character, especially one who's been on the air for nearly 2 decades. Leroy Jethro Gibbs starred in hundreds of NCIS episodes and has earned a special place in people's hearts. The show just won't be the same without him, and fans have already taken to social media to let their thoughts known on the emotional departure. It's entirely possible his final scene of fishing on a lake in the great unknown will be the last time audiences see Gibbs, but at least he received the send-off he so richly deserved. Fans were quick to chime in with their thoughts. One fan wrote, "I'm sad Gibbs is leaving NCIS. I got to respect and applaud Mark Harmon for his performance through 18 years as Gibbs." Another fan noted, "I just learned Mark Harmon is leaving NCIS and I'm in complete shock. I grew up with NCIS and especially with Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs, but he did his time and I'm really proud. He had such an amazing journey." Gibbs has certainly come a long way ever since he first graced people's screens on the episode Ice Queen on JAG. He'd only appear on one more JAG episode before spinning off into NCIS, where he's been ever since. Harmon walked away when the time was right, just like the great Gibbs so famously said, "When the job is done, walk away."
NCIS New Orleans' newest special agent, Tammy Gregorio, has quickly become a favorite with fans, some of whom were surely left wondering where they'd seen actress Vanessa Ferlito before.
Put your hands up! Now!
NCIS New Orleans definitely isn't Ferlito's debut. Here's where we've seen this Brooklynite before. 24. Ferlito scored an early breakout role on the hit Fox crime drama 24, appearing on 11 episodes of the show's 3rd season as Claudia Hernandez, Hector Salazar's girlfriend and secret lover of the show's protagonist, Jack Bauer, played by Kiefer Sutherland. Claudia agreed to help Bauer in exchange for passage out of Mexico, but she was killed in the process. According to Ferlito, Claudia wasn't originally supposed to die, and she and Jack would have ended up together. But her character was killed off after Ferlito was cast in the 2005 Tommy Lee Jones crime comedy called Man of the House. Given the movie's abysmal 9% Rotten Tomatoes score, Ferlito may have ended up wishing she'd stayed on 24. Then again, Ferlito may have taken some small comfort from the fact that her performance in Man of the House was one of the few things in the critical and commercial dud to earn positive notice. While strenuously urging potential viewers to stay away, Variety noted that she stood out among the ensemble supporting Jones, mainly because she's the only one who gets enough to do to make a strong impression as a distinctive personality. Spider-Man 2. Like most hardworking actors, Ferlito has occasionally appeared in projects that only featured her briefly. Take, for example, her part in 2004's Spider-Man 2. In the superhero sequel, Ferlito played Louise, Mary Jane's best friend and shopping partner. It's a small part, but at least Ferlito fans can enjoy this extended scene featuring her chatting with Mary Jane that was edited out of the theatrical cut.
Okay, what about that perfect kiss you said you had once? The guy you believed in? That was a fantasy.
Shadowboxer. In 2005, Ferlito landed a role as Stephen Dorff's pregnant wife in the crime thriller Shadowboxer, and like her other big screen feature that year, Man of the House, it was critically panned. Slant dismissed it as, quote, a faux art house crime thriller and the closest approximation the movies have offered audiences this year of feeling trapped inside a rancid toilet bowl. That's some pretty scathing criticism, but Ferlito was hardly the focus. Shadowboxer had some far bigger names attached, including Academy Award winners Cuba Gooding Jr. and Helen Mirren. CSI New York. NCIS New Orleans isn't the first primetime crime drama to prominently feature Vanessa Ferlito. That honor goes to CSI New York. Ferlito appeared on 26 episodes of the long-running spin-off series before her character, Aidan Byrne, was murdered. She later claimed that it was her decision to leave, telling TV Guide, I had no intention of doing an hour TV show. I had just wrapped the movie Man of the House with Tommy Lee Jones, so it's not like I had nothing going on. But it was CSI New York. You don't say no to that. Death Proof. Ferlito's first few big screen roles may not have turned out the way she'd hoped, but all that early experience paid off in 2007 with a part in Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Ferlito played Arlene, aka Butterfly, one of 3 friends killed by stuntman Kurt Russell and his death-proof stunt car. In an interview with Aced magazine, she claimed Tarantino wrote the role of Butterfly specifically for her. Ferlito is responsible for one of Death Proof's most talked-about scenes, in which Butterfly gives stuntman Mike a lap dance. She told Aced, people still go crazy over that lap dance. It has a cult following now. Madea goes to jail. After working with Quentin Tarantino, Ferlito stepped in front of the cameras for a different sort of auteur, playing a heroin-addicted prostitute named Donna in Tyler Perry's Madea Goes to Jail. Ferlito later told Trailer Addict she loved working with Perry specifically because she appreciates working with directors who are also actors. Like most of Perry's directorial efforts, Madea Goes to Jail proved profitable at the box office, so it's safe to assume that more than a few NCIS New Orleans viewers recognize Ferlito from this big screen hit. Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. Sharing a few minutes of screen time with Michael Douglas and Shia LaBeouf, Ferlito returned to theaters in 2010 with a brief supporting role in Oliver Stone's Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. In Stone's Wall Street sequel, inspired by the 2008 financial crisis, Ferlito plays a character named Audrey, a tough no-nonsense type. It's a role that the Brooklyn native was uniquely well-suited for. Stand-Up Guys. Those who saw 2012 Stand-Up Guys starring Al Pacino and Christopher Walken likely remember Ferlito as Sylvia, the woman the protagonists find in the trunk of their stolen car. The film's subplot involving Ferlito's character didn't help Stand-Up Guys' critical reception. As the victim of brutal abuse, her role moved the plot, though not everyone felt her character was treated with sufficient respect. Time magazine put it like this: it's nice that the Stand-Up Guys rescue and avenge her, but her suffering is trivialized in a grossly insensitive way. Graceland. Ferlito returned to her television crime drama roots in 2013, joining the cast of USA Network's Graceland as FBI agent Catherine Charlie DeMarco throughout the series' 3-season run. To prepare for the intense role, Ferlito told Pop Sugar that she sat down with a number of real undercover agents to discuss what the job is actually like. Though she looked to real-life agents for inspiration, Ferlito said she didn't study other actors. When I jump into a role, I just kind of go fresh. I just jump right in, because you can't focus on what other people do, or then it's just not natural. Graceland benefited greatly from Ferlito's natural affinity for crime dramas, which is ultimately the genre in which the actress truly shines, as NCIS New Orleans fans can certainly attest.
In April 2020, the long-running CBS crime drama NCIS wrapped up its 17th season. After all these years, the cast is still headed by Mark Harmon as Special Agent Gibbs, and the 17th season saw appearances from classic characters like Ziva David and Jimmy Palmer, played by Cody DePablo and Brian Dietzen, respectively. Obviously, the NCIS team that we first met in 2003 has changed quite a bit over the years. Other than Mark Harmon, David McCallum is the only series regular who's been around since the very beginning. He plays Dr. Donald Ducky Mallard, as you probably know. But few former NCIS characters are missed as much as Michael Weatherly's Tony DiNozzo. People just love tuning in to watch his antics every week.
Really? Yeah. I think it's even a rule. Rule 38.
Oh!
So it's no surprise that many fans were downright disappointed when he left the show at the end of season 13. His departure left us with two burning questions. 1. Why did Weatherly decide to hang up his badge after 13 seasons? And 2. Will Tony DiNozzo ever make another appearance on NCIS? It's hard to say. Remember what happened in the season 13 finale? Tony was mourning the alleged death of Ziva, with whom he'd always enjoyed a loving but complicated relationship. After Ziva's supposed death, Tony learns that she'd given birth to their child, a secret she decided to keep from Tony to avoid complicating their lives. Talk about an emotional burden. Though Tony is understandably shocked by this news, he takes to fatherhood quickly. By the end of the episode, Ziva's alleged killer has been taken down by the team, and Tony has made a really tough decision. He's going to step away from NCIS to raise his daughter and rebuild his life. Of course, everyone is devastated by his departure, but they certainly understand his reasoning. It's one of the most emotional send-offs in the history of the series. But why did Weatherly step away from NCIS after such a long run? Ultimately, he left for the same reason that many people leave their jobs. After 13 years, he felt it was time to move on. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he said he was burned out by the show's taxing schedule. As to how Tony's story wrapped up, Weatherly said, "It really felt like a circle that had gone all the way around, and I really felt happy with the resolution of character and my time on the show." Weatherly left the show on good terms with the cast and crew, and he quickly landed a role on another CBS series. While he was preparing his departure from NCIS, it was announced that he would be the lead of a new primetime drama, Bull. The show was somehow inspired by the life and times of the decidedly uninspiring Dr. Phil. It finds Weatherly playing a psychologist, Dr. Jason Bull, the head of a jury consulting firm. As of the making of this video, Bull is still on the air after 4 seasons. But the question remains, will we ever get to see Weatherly play Tony again? Well, there have been plenty of rumors that Tony would be returning to the show, which began pretty much the moment he left. This speculation went into hyperdrive during the show's 16th season. That's when it was revealed that Ziva was still very much alive. And when Cody DePablo did indeed return to the show, fans were fairly certain that Weatherly would soon follow suit. In fact, even before DePablo's return, Weatherly hinted on Twitter that he was totally down with returning to NCIS, writing in February 2018, "Yes, I believe Ziva is alive and I will always be ready to play DiNozzo when the time is right." Many fans were convinced Tony would be making an appearance on the season 17 mid-season finale, along with Ziva and their daughter, Tali. But when the episode aired, only Ziva made an appearance, although Tony and Tali were mentioned in the episode. Frankly, we're still waiting to see whether Tony DiNozzo will ever make his grand return to the show. Don't let down the team, DiNozzo.
It wasn't until late in the first season of NCIS New Orleans that viewers met ATF agent Sonia Percy, played by Tony-nominated actress Shalita Grant. Once she became a regular on the show in season 2, she quickly became a favorite thanks to her penchant for calling out BS and her great chemistry with agent Christopher LaSalle, played by Lucas Black. As anybody who watches network crime procedurals will tell you, all good things must come to an end, and no NCIS agent is forever. After 3 seasons on the show, Grant decided to hand in her badge, and the character of Agent Percy was retired. Anytime an actor leaves a hit show, it always raises the question, was their ouster a natural progression of the story, or was something going on behind the scenes?
Coming in with some attitude. Let me lighten that load for you.
Hate to spoil the party, but we gotta talk.
Throughout the 4th season of the show, it was clear to the NCIS New Orleans team that something was eating at Agent Percy. She seemed restless and distracted, and made a few bad calls that were out of character. In her penultimate episode on the show, Welcome to the Jungle, Percy revealed that she interviewed for a position with the FBI. Her issues, it seems, were caused by a nagging feeling that she needed to move on to something new. Although she was offered the FBI job, Percy initially declined it, as she didn't want to upset her NCIS squad mates. In Percy's final episode, High Stakes, she and Agent LaSalle were assigned to work a sting operation at a poker game. Percy ended up in an SUV with the perp they were tracking, and in a split-second decision, she rolled the vehicle to prevent him from getting the upper hand on her. It was a very risky move that ended up paying off, but it was further proof that Percy's instincts were being affected by her feeling of restlessness. In the end, Percy realized that the only reason she turned down the FBI job was to avoid disappointing other people, which wasn't the correct decision to make for herself. At the end of the episode, she announced her departure from the team. When Variety originally reported on Grant's decision to leave, they cited sources who said the departure is amicable and mutually agreed upon between the actress and the producers. In a later report on Deadline, the actress herself claimed she was ready to move on. The year after exiting the show, Grant landed a recurring role on the final season of Santa Clarita Diet.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Special Agent Tess Rogers with the FBI.
In 2017, while Grant was still on NCIS New Orleans, she did open up about the difficulties of transitioning from theater to the world of primetime crime dramas. In an interview with Lenny Letter, Grant said, "I didn't realize just how different a procedural is. I do come from theater, and I am always looking for ways to be human and be alive and in the moment. It is challenging to do that with a procedural." She's far from the first actor to speak up about the grind of filming 22-episode seasons. Although she didn't cite those particular issues when speaking about her exit, it seems likely that they played a role in her decision to move on to different projects. One of those different projects may also shine some light on what factors motivated her to leave the show. It wasn't just her role on Santa Clarita Diet that kept Grant busy after she left NCIS New Orleans. The enterprising actress launched a hair care line specifically for Black women with type 4 hair called 4 Naturals. On the company's website, Grant opened up about what inspired her to launch her hair care line. She said, "I found myself utterly wrecked after 3 years on a television show that decimated my natural hair and my self-image. My tight type 4 hair was not welcome. Instead, the producers and hair department had no issue with my natural hair suffering or falling out to comply with the mandate to wear a ponytail with little to no curl. After quitting what was once a dream job, I told myself that I would turn that pain into a platform." Although she didn't specify which show caused the damage, NCIS New Orleans is the actress's only 3-year-long stint on any series. It seems likely that it's the culprit, and it seems this difficult environment could be another reason Grant decided to leave.
I'm gonna miss you, City Mouse.
I'll miss you too, Country Mouse.
Even though it's been almost 15 years since the show premiered, NCIS still has a slot on our TV screens every Tuesday night. Some faces have come and gone over the years, while others have remained the same since day one. But they all have one thing in common. This was the show that truly brought them into the spotlight. Here's what the cast of NCIS was up to before they got the roles that changed their lives. Mark Harmon. Thomas Mark Harmon grew up in Burbank, California, the youngest of 3 children to former Heisman-winning football player Tom Harmon and actress Elise Knox. Football was his early passion, but the acting bug eventually hit. Harmon has compiled a fairly impressive filmography in film and television. He spent a good deal of the last 13 years as, essentially, the face of NCIS, anchoring the show's cast as steely-eyed Special Agent Leroy Gibbs since 2003. Harmon has starred in more than 300 episodes of the series since its inception. Pauley Perrette. Pauley Perrette was born in New Orleans, where she dreamed of one day being a rock star. She also entertained the idea of getting into law enforcement and went to college for criminal science.
I thought I was going to be a cop.
She finally did get the chance to become a cop, of sorts, and she got to entertain millions of NCIS viewers as Abby Shudo in the process. Perrette was actually introduced into the NCIS universe during the last 2 episodes of JAG, the Navy-focused show that preceded NCIS. Michael Weatherly. Born in New York City, Michael Weatherly was a professional actor for over a decade before landing the role of Anthony "Tony" DiNozzo in NCIS. Prior to his breakout role, Weatherly built a solid career with a variety of memorable supporting roles, including Dark Angel, starring Jessica Alba, to whom he was engaged in 2001. Weatherly has spent the intervening years consistently acting on NCIS and more recently with the title role on CBS's Bull. His relationship with Alba dissolved in 2003, but 6 years later, Weatherly married his second wife, an internist named Bojana Yankovic, with whom he has 2 children. David McCallum. Born in 1933 in Glasgow, Scotland, David McCallum grew up on a diet of classical music courtesy of his parents, who encouraged him to pursue the musical arts himself.
Hey, you're good.
Of course.
At first, acting was only a hobby for McCallum. He got a job at an opera house as an assistant manager, performed vocal work on the radio, and finally broke into films in 1957. He hasn't stopped since. That's over 60 years in the industry, which may explain why he wears his role as NCIS's Ducky Mallard as easily as a glove. It also doesn't hurt that McCallum followed around real-life coroners to prepare for his role as a medical examiner on the show. Sean Murray. Sean Murray started his acting career early. His first break came in the form of a starring role in the 1993 Disney classic Hocus Pocus. But since he's long since lost the vintage 90s locks, he definitely hasn't lost the deadpan charm that made him a breakout star on NCIS. Like Pauley Perrette, he also has a connection to NCIS predecessor JAG, although Murray played an entirely different character from his NCIS role of Timothy McGee. Brian Dietzen. As a younger man, Brian Dietzen had dreams of Hollywood success, and the 2003 musical comedy From Justin to Kelly gave Dietzen the chance to step onto the big screen. Unfortunately, From Justin to Kelly is one of the worst movies ever made. But Dietzen managed to beat the odds and joined the main cast of NCIS the following year. Dietzen has now spent more than a decade in the role of Jimmy Palmer, and although he's also appeared in a handful of films, NCIS is still his most successful and long-running gig. Rocky Carroll. Rocky started out acting on the stage at the Cincinnati School for Creative and Performing Arts, the first of 2 dramatic schools Carroll attended before moving to New York. Carroll remains an actor with great credibility on Broadway as well as in the popcorn movie world of Hollywood, with an abiding love of Shakespeare that he's held since youth. His character on NCIS, director Leon Vance, has appeared in all 3 iterations of the series, including Los Angeles and New Orleans. Lauren Holly. Raised in New York, Lauren Holly practiced cheerleading and studied English before getting a start in acting at the age of 20. She landed breakout roles on All My Children, Picket Fences, and Dumb and Dumber.
So where are you headed?
Aspen.
California. Beautiful.
Holly joined the cast of NCIS in 2005 and became a series regular until 2008, with additional appearances in 2012 and 2015. Holly now lives in Toronto with her 3 sons and has continued working steadily since leaving NCIS. Emily Wickersham. Born in 1984 in Kansas, Wickersham's Midwestern roots play front and center in her role as Ellie Bishop on NCIS. Wickersham is in her 4th year with the show as of the making of this video, and it remains her major focus going forward. She took a shot at blockbuster fame with roles in I Am Number 4 and 2012's Gone, but the mixed reception for those films probably felt like a big step backwards compared to the perpetual success machine that is the NCIS franchise. Sasha Alexander. By all accounts, Sasha Alexander was born to be a performer. She was acting in school plays by 7th grade, and on the side, she tried out ice skating, singing, and dancing. These days, she's just about omnipresent on our TV screen, showing up on a number of wildly successful TV shows such as Dawson's Creek, CSI, Friends, and Shameless, in addition to her long-running gig on NCIS. It's no shock that this great track record made her a lock for the 2016's People's Choice Award for Favorite Cable TV Actress. Joe Spano. Now over 70 years old, Joe Spano got his start in the business in 1973 with an appearance in George Lucas's classic American Graffiti. But his main claim to fame was Hill Street Blues, on which he played one of the lead roles for 144 episodes. As FBI Special Agent Tobias Fornell, Spano has been weaving in and out of the NCIS narrative since the very beginning, appearing whenever the writers deem it necessary for the FBI to poke around in the NCIS's business. Cody DiPablo. Born Maria Jose de Pablo Fernandez, Cody de Pablo was born in Chile and lived there for 10 years before moving to Miami. She was hosting her own talk show by age 15, which should probably make most of us a little sad when you think about the typical teenager's way of passing the time.
Good news, guys. I spent all my money.
Boy, you can't bring that in here.
Yes, I can. It's all terrain, dummy.
The actress left her role on NCIS in 2013 for unknown reasons and snagged roles in a couple of films, including The 33, a dramatized recreation of a Chilean mining disaster. For now, the world is full of projects for her choosing, so there's no telling where she'll go next.
Lauren Holly's NCIS character Jennifer Shepard spent her whole career working her way up to becoming director of the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, only to be gunned down some 3 years into the top job. The last fans saw of Shepard was in an abandoned diner, getting sentimental with fellow NCIS agent Mike Franks. Her death happens off-screen, signified by a storm of gunshots and a mostly obscured shot of her body. But we know she didn't go quietly. Replacement director Leon Vance said that the forensics from the scene indicated that Shepard went down fighting.
She put up a hell of a fight.
Holly, on the other hand, wasn't fighting against her character's death and departure from the show. She joined NCIS at the start of season 3, with her character replacing former NCIS director Thomas Morrow, and appeared on a total of 48 episodes up to the season 5 finale. Sometimes learning the real reason NCIS actors left raises more questions about the show's famous backstage drama, but unlike some of her former co-stars, it seems like Holly left on her own terms. 3 seasons on a show that's into its second decade doesn't seem like a long time in the grand scheme of things, but Holly never expected to last even that long on NCIS. In a now deleted post on her personal website, she wrote that she initially found her way to NCIS through her former Chicago Hope co-star Mark Harmon, who of course is best known today as fearless NCIS leader Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Excited at the chance to again work with Harmon and with legendary creator Don Belisario, Holly originally went up for the part that went to Sasha Alexander, but 2 years later, Holly was invited to join the show with the understanding that she would be part of a 6-episode story arc as the new director of NCIS. Holly was living in Chicago at the time, and she started commuting back and forth to LA for the show. When the creators offered to extend the part into future seasons, Holly and her family moved to California. Not every departure from the show has been smooth sailing. Holly, however, apparently didn't have any hard feelings. She wrote, "I enjoyed being on the show and began some wonderful friendships." But 2 years in, Holly was happy to bow out of the series, saying that after playing the same character day in and day out for such a long time, she was bored and wanted a new challenge. Ultimately, she was happy with how Shepard met her demise. According to Holly, after she let the showrunners know that she wanted out, the decision was made to kill me, and boy did they, about 5 different ways. Holly's only exaggerating a little bit. Shepard had been diagnosed with a fatal brain tumor before she was ultimately taken out by a group of assassins. NCIS continued on without Shepard, and the actress hopes the series extends its long run even further for the sake of the cast and crew. She wrote, "A lot of people depend on it for their families. For that, I hope it continues forever. It probably will. I think of them all often." While some actors face the unfortunate fate of a quickly dimming career after leaving a hit series, that couldn't be further from the truth for Holly. She's continued to flourish in both the television and film realms post-NCIS, which should come as no surprise considering how many screen credits she'd racked up prior to joining the show. Since exiting NCIS, Holly has appeared on series such as Leverage, Lucifer, and Good Witch. She's also lent her voice to the computer-animated television show The Adventures of Chuck and Friends, playing the aptly named Holly, an anthropomorphic forklift. Holly's biggest television gig after NCIS came in 2013 when she began starring in the Canadian police procedural series Motive, a gig that lasted until August 2016. Most recently, Holly has held a recurring role as Lynn Harper on the political drama Designated Survivor.
He's a wonderful partner. He's attentive and irreproachable and unimpeachably correct.
She doesn't mean that as a compliment.
On the film side of things, fans likely best remember seeing Holly as Linda in 2015's The Black Coat's Daughter. Written and directed by Osgood Perkins, the film centers around two students who are left behind at their boarding school during winter break. It's rumored that the school's nuns worship Satan, talk that turns out to be a lot less terrifying than the truth of the situation. NCIS was inarguably a bright spot in Holly's professional career, even if she did get bored of the gig after a while. But it's clear that her future is even brighter.
You can't become the #1 drama on television without generating at least a little drama off-screen. NCIS has had a long time to create those stories. The show first premiered all the way back in 2003. Here are the facts every NCIS fan should know about the CBS series. Considering NCIS is about the US military, you wouldn't expect the show to be a big hit overseas. But since 2013, no fewer than 8 NCIS movies have been shown on British television. If you're wondering why you've never heard of NCIS movies before, don't worry, you haven't actually missed anything. Films like NCIS Judgment Day and NCIS War on Terror were cobbled together by assembling multi-episode arcs from the TV shows into one continuous story. Binge watching the old-fashioned way. NCIS is objectively one of the most popular shows on TV right now, if not of all time. And as a spin-off of JAG, it's one of the few spin-offs to outlive its predecessor. Where most shows' popularity drops off over time, that's just not true for NCIS. In its 7th season, it became the most watched scripted show on broadcast television. In its 10th, it surpassed the only 2 shows in front of it, Sunday Night Football and American Idol, to become the #1 show on network TV. It's never left the top 3 since. But as much as viewers love it, it hasn't won very many awards. The show has been nominated for more than a dozen People's Choice Awards and 3 Emmy Awards, twice for stunt performers, and once for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. It did not win any of them. Law & Order has the famous sound used to transition between scenes.
These are their stories.
NCIS uses a similar sound effect. That sound was made by NCIS creator Donald Bellisario personally. When the show was entering production, he knew he wanted some kind of noise to guide the viewer from scene to scene, but he wasn't sure what, so he went into a recording studio and started messing around with a microphone. The one that ended up getting used is just Bellisario tapping on a mic with the palm of his hand. Coty de Pablo left the show in season 11, which also ended the arc of the relationship between her character, Ziva, and Tony DiNozzo. That left Michael Weatherly, who played DiNozzo, with a lot less to do. He realized that while the show was very good to him, it was time for him to move on. Weatherly went on to helm the documentary Jamaica Man, started his own production company, and landed a starring role on Bull. Actress Sasha Alexander, who moved on to Rizzoli and Isles, and a recurring role on Shameless, was part of the original cast of NCIS when it hit the air in 2003. Acting in a single-camera TV drama involves a lot of hard work and a lot of long hours, and by the end of the 2nd season, Alexander was tired of the grind of portraying Special Agent Kate Todd. As then showrunner Donald Bellisario was writing the 2nd season finale, Alexander came to him in tears and asked to be let go. Bellisario complied, spoke on her behalf to persuade CBS executives to let her out of her contract, and then killed off her character. Alexander has since said she doesn't regret leaving, but wishes it had gotten more press coverage during her tenure. NCIS has always been an ensemble show, but there's no mistaking that the star is Mark Harmon, and for good reason. He's a commanding presence, even with a character who's a man of few words. Leroy Jethro Gibbs doesn't talk any more than he has to, and Harmon can convey more with a glance or a nod than some actors manage with a monologue. In fact, it's hard for writers, especially new ones, to figure out how to write dialogue for the character. Sometimes before a script is finalized, writers will do what's called a Gibbs pass to determine what, if any, dialogue can be edited down or removed completely. The show's quirky/genius forensic scientist Abby Shudo gets a lot of work done thanks in part to a steady stream of a potent caffeine-rich energy drink called Caf Pow. It's now a real commercially available beverage, but it's not what actress Pauley Perrette chugs when she's portraying Abby. The red stuff she's actually drinking is tart and bitter unsweetened cranberry juice.
I was gonna say 10.
Pauley Perrette, who plays Abby on NCIS, is extremely well qualified to play a forensic scientist. A couple of decades ago, she considered becoming an FBI agent, and she has a master's degree in criminal science from Valdosta State University in Georgia. She was even admitted into the John Jay School of Criminal Science in New York. She worked several jobs to pay her way through, including as a cook on a boat. Somebody who worked in the coat check room told her about a director who was looking for commercial actors, and Pauley Perrette gave it a shot, earning roles in advertisements as well as guest spots on TV shows before eventually landing on NCIS. One of the perks of holding a high rank in the real-life Naval Criminal Investigative Service, or the U.S. Navy, is the possibility of a cameo on NCIS. In 2005, around the time that he retired from the post he'd held for 8 years, real-world NCIS director David Brandt guest starred on an episode as NCIS Special Agent David Brandt. His successor as director, Thomas Betro, also appeared on the series, making a brief appearance on a 2007 NCIS episode as Coffee Man. Ray Mabus served as Secretary of the Navy from May 2009 to early 2017, a tenure that included an appearance on a 2009 episode of NCIS as an agent named Ray. Mark Harmon not only headlines the NCIS flagship, he's also an executive producer for the show and its spin-off, NCIS New Orleans. That credit isn't just a perk for having been with the franchise for so long. Harmon is a hands-on producer. He worked closely with fellow producer Gary Glassberg to develop New Orleans, participating in decisions regarding casting, shooting locations, and music selection. In Season 3, Thomas Morrow was out as NCIS director, and in came Jenny Shepard. The character shared some history with Gibbs, in that the two were once professional partners as well as a couple. That mirrors the relationship between the actors who portrayed Shepard and Gibbs, Lauren Holly and Mark Harmon. Years before NCIS, the two were both cast members on the 90s CBS medical drama Chicago Hope, and it's that connection that scored Holly the role of Shepard. Holly wrote on her official website that Harmon actually reached out when they were having trouble casting the role and arranged a meeting for Holly with the show's creator, Donald Bellisario. She landed the part, which was initially supposed to just be a 6-episode arc before it turned into a 3-season run. After about 4 dozen episodes, writers killed off Jenny Shepard because Holly was ready to move on to other roles. Pauley Perrette was a standout of NCIS's ensemble cast since its beginnings in 2003, providing light moments as calf pal-fueled forensic scientist Abby Shudo. It was both a major TV moment and a big career move for Perrette when she left the show in 2018 after more than 350 episodes.
You want to help me?
No, just take it and go, yeah?
You want to help me?
Say it. You want to help me?
Yes, I want to help you.
You can't. Stop!
Just after her farewell episode aired, Perrette tweeted out the reason why she fled NCIS. She reportedly suffered multiple physical assaults at work. There was some animosity and negativity stemming from an incident in 2016 when co-star Mark Harmon brought his pit bull Dave to the set. According to sources that spoke with Radar Online, Dave bit a member of the crew with such violent intensity that the victim had to get 16 stitches. Harmon kept Dave at home after that, except for the one time when he couldn't find a dog sitter and allowed Dave to hang out in his on-set trailer all day. Perrette was reportedly furious that Harmon's dog was back on the set and started to shout when Harmon tried to explain. Sources say Perrette even refused to shoot any scenes with Harmon. Most huge TV shows extend their cultural impact beyond just hundreds of episodes, offering merchandise for fans to enjoy. It's tough for an adult-oriented crime drama to sell ancillary items, but NCIS had cash registers ringing for a while, with CBS's website offering a version of the show's Bert the Farting Hippo novelty toy.
He's supposed to make that noise.
You have a stuffed animal that farts?
Yeah, it's cool, huh?
Bert is a cute hippopotamus puppet based on the one that Abby Shudo kept at her workstation, but which offered a little something extra in that it made fart sounds, just like the one seen on around a dozen episodes of NCIS. In 2002, Folk Manus, a company which produces a wide line of stuffed animal-type puppets for toy stores and gift shops, introduced a hippo which NCIS prop masters used on TV with little alteration other than dubbing in farting sounds in post-production. CBS eventually commissioned a more accurate, branded replica of Bert from Folk Manus, and the toy maker added a spiked collar and a soundbox. Then, according to a lawsuit filed in 2014, CBS's merchandiser went around Folkmanis and sought out a company in China to make the toys so the network could sell them at a greater profit. The puppet company wanted more than $700,000, and the suit was settled out of court in 2016. Like any real government agency office worth its mettle, the squad room in NCIS headquarters features a most wanted wall, bearing the images of the worst criminals that pose a threat to the United States' safety and security. Over the years, it's featured all manner of criminals, murderers, and terrorists, some of whom are created for the show and some real to add authenticity. Once the NCIS good guys eliminate them, they are removed from the wall. If they're killed, the most wanted individual gets a big red stripe across their portrait. But not all the people on the wall are bad guys, or even real guys. For a good while, the face of one of the supposedly at-large criminals belonged to Donald Belisario, creator of NCIS. Connected properties are all the rage in movies, what with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Extended Universe, among others, but they're a thing in TV too. A number of the CW superhero shows share a common fake reality, while NCIS is also the connecting point for a number of television shows past and present. As it's been on the air for nearly 20 highly watched years now, it's easy to forget that NCIS was a spin-off of another less popular military drama also created by Donald Belisario called JAG, which aired from 1995 to 2005. NCIS itself spun off NCIS Los Angeles and NCIS New Orleans, with several actors crossing into the different shows. Characters from NCIS Los Angeles guest starred on CBS's Hawaii Five-0, which itself crossed over with CBS's Magnum PI remake. That puts all of those shows in the same universe, and you could even include Family Guy. In a 2012 episode of the animated series, news anchor Tom Tucker becomes an actor and lands a gig on NCIS. Mark Harmon plays himself, playing Gibbs. Some parts seem so tailor-made to certain actors, or they portray the part for so long, that it's almost impossible to imagine anyone else in the role. Take Mark Harmon as Gibbs, for example. He's portrayed the taciturn naval investigator for nearly 2 decades, and it's the role for which he's most famous. Producers originally had someone else in mind for the role, Han Solo and Indiana Jones himself, Harrison Ford. According to Amazon, Ford, who was experiencing a bit of a downturn in his otherwise stellar movie career when NCIS was being developed in the early 2000s, was one of the producers' favored options to play Gibbs. Despite associates encouraging him to sign on for the role, he didn't have any interest in pursuing work on the episodic TV series, and Harmon got the gig. With about 400 episodes of reliable and satisfying television, with high production values and star power filmed and ready to go, NCIS is an attractive option for worldwide TV syndicators. It's a particular draw in Japan, where Fox Japan promoted the debut of the 11th season slate of episodes in January 2014 with a rerun marathon. Fox Japan aired the first 10 seasons of NCIS in their entirety and in order. It took a full 10 days to air all 234 episodes, a period which coincided with the New Year's holiday. The event also earned Fox Japan and NCIS a literal spot in the record books. The stunt was a shot at the Guinness World Record for longest uninterrupted transmission of a TV series.
Over 15 years into its run, NCIS has had members of its team kidnapped, shot, stabbed, and even blown up by terrorists. But one of the most shocking deaths came just 2 seasons in. Here's the real reason Sasha Alexander, who portrayed Kate Todd, left NCIS after season 2. We know the NCIS team works long hours to catch the bad guys, but the people who make the show are also pulling very long shifts purely in the name of entertainment. This detail slipped by fans who were so furious when Todd was killed off that show creator Don Belisario weighed in on what happened behind the scenes. He explained that he'd already started working on the script for the last episode of the season when Alexander begged him to write her out of the show. In July 2005, a couple of months after Todd's dramatic death aired, Belisario shed some light on the situation in a conversation with the Chicago Tribune, saying, "Sasha came in 2 days before I was to leave, and with tears in her eyes, she said, 'I just can't work this hard.'" The showrunner admitted that NCIS is, quote, a hard show to make. We work very long hours. He also added that although Alexander was technically under contract to CBS, he persuaded the network's brass to let her go. While Belisario and Alexander knew what was coming, no one else knew about her departure. Fans got wind that one of the NCIS team was going to die in the season 2 finale, but exactly who it would be was kept so secret that they reportedly even shot an alternate ending where Todd survived.
We're NCIS agents, McGee. There's a chance one of us might die every time we walk through the door.
Belisario isn't the only one to ever lend credence to the idea that working on NCIS could be taxing to the point of exhaustion for some of his stars. Mark Harmon, who has portrayed Special Agent Leroy Jethro Gibbs on the series for 17 grueling years, has spoken in the past not only about how difficult a gig NCIS can be, but about how it used to be even more so early in the series' run. During the series' 16th season, Harmon had a chat with Entertainment Tonight in which he acknowledged that the job isn't exactly a walk in the park, saying, "This is hard to do, and we miss that sometimes because this is a happy group and we all work hard, but this looks so much easier than it is. And that's because you've got such talented people in so many different directions here who all get in the same path of what they're trying to do." In a 2017 interview with The Talk, Harmon described the early days of the series in terms that suggest a schedule that was nothing short of brutal, saying, "The first day was 21 hours. We've, I think, maneuvered the schedule over the years to make it much more specific, and I think we've gotten better with that." It's interesting to consider that the character of Kate Todd might have been a longer-lived one had producers gone with their initial choice for the role. In a conversation with CBS News, Harmon revealed that Lauren Hawley, who portrayed director Jenny Shepard on NCIS from seasons 3 to 5, almost landed the part before it was handed to Alexander. At the time that Sasha was hired, Lauren was in that mix to play that role, and the fact that her name came back up again for the role of Jenny Shepard did not surprise me a lot because of what Hawley has as an actress. Hawley must have boundless energy because when asked why she chose to depart the series after only 3 seasons, she gave a much different reason. She wanted to take on different roles and was unhappy at Belisario's departure from the show. On her personal website, Hawley wrote, "I was saddened that Don Belisario was forced out, and I missed him a lot. To be honest, now that the work bug had bitten me again, I got bored with my part of the director. Then the decision was made to kill me, and boy did they. About 5 different ways." Fortunately, it seems that Alexander is more than happy with her decision to leave. In a 2012 interview with TV Guide, she reiterated that she only left because she personally couldn't handle the long hours. People don't realize that on a network show, you make 24 episodes a year. That's 10.5 months a year, 17 hours a day. It's hardcore. Alexander wasn't just thinking about the show's impact on her work-life balance at the time. She added, "I really firmly believe in my heart that I would not be where I am today. I didn't want to wake up and be in my 40s and go, oh my gosh, but people don't understand. Taking the risk and leaving NCIS did seem to pay off personally and professionally. 2 years after her dramatic exit, Alexander married Italian director Eduardo Ponti. The couple now have 2 children, and she also gained a famous mother-in-law, none other than iconic actress Sophia Loren. Career-wise, Alexander went on to play half of crime-solving double act Rizzoli and Isles for 7 seasons, and appeared in the Showtime comedy series Shameless. Todd may have taken one for the NCIS team, but Alexander is happy that she's no longer sacrificing her real life for the screen.
Stealing a colleague's birth control should get you fired from any normal workplace, but it won't at the NCIS office. And DiNozzo is just the start of the show's problems. Procedural crime dramas have a way of manipulating the reality-based aspects of their characters' jobs. In order to fast-track some of the scenes that would normally involve a lab filled with a team of scientists, it sort of makes sense for a TV show to speed up the forensic process. In the case of NCIS, Abby and Ducky's jobs wouldn't exist in real life.
All right.
We don't mean that forensic analysts and medical examiners aren't actual jobs. Obviously, they are. However, a forensic analyst and medical examiner wouldn't work within an NCIS building. They wouldn't have a direct line of communication to an NCIS agent, nor would there only be one of each. A real-life NCIS field office would work with local state or county medical examiners and labs for forensic evidence, and each one would certainly have more than one person working there. Gibbs' team also isn't the only group of field agents that operates in that branch of NCIS. In that case, Abby and Ducky would have to keep up with Gibbs' cases and every other agent's cases. If that were true for real-world counterparts, the overtime costs alone would be astronomical. For the sake of television, it's pretty much a necessity to keep the show's pacing punchy and exciting. Otherwise, each episode would be a victim of the red-taped, glacial pace of real-time forensic sciences. In the very first episode of NCIS, titled Yankee White, the death of a Marine on Air Force One triggers a mess of jurisdictional complications. The ultimate question of this episode is who claims jurisdiction over the death of a naval commander who dies on Air Force One. Do Gibbs and his team have any right to fly away with the president's plane in order to hold such jurisdiction? Okay, let's break this one down. The second the president walks off the plane, the Secret Service loses jurisdiction, and it gets handed off to the FBI. But in accordance with SecNav instruction, since NCIS has a horse in this race in the form of a dead officer, joint criminal investigations, conducted with the FBI, designate NCIS as having exclusive responsibility. So, in the real world, NCIS actually would have jurisdiction to take custody of the body. But does that really give them the right to snatch the president's plane to ensure they keep custody? And if they can't take the plane, how is it that we never hear about anyone getting into trouble for that stunt? When it comes to forensics, contaminations are one of the worst mess-ups that can happen to an investigation. It's also the case that biohazardous materials, which can possibly cause illness and contamination, are frequent flyers in a medical examiner's field. Ducky, who is supposed to be the best at what he does, ought to know how not to contaminate a forensic lab or spread unsanitary materials.
Excuse me. Show a little respect. This is a place of peace and dignity.
In Sub Rosa, Ducky potentially contaminates several areas with biohazardous materials. He meets Abby in her lab after performing an autopsy. As he enters Abby's area, we can see he is still in his surgical gown, and there's blood smeared all over the front. Blood is considered a biohazard material, and not only does bringing it out of his lab and into Abby's increase the chances for an infection to break loose, but it could potentially contaminate any other evidence that is present in Abby's workspace. Gross. In other episodes, Ducky, among other investigators, commits potential crime scene contamination through lack of proper personal protection equipment. The National Institute of Justice explains that crime scene investigators must have items such as gloves, booties, hair covering, overalls, and mask, readily available for a crime scene sweep. The team encounters their very first multi-episode NCIS villain near the end of Season 1. By the NCIS Season 2 finale, he's still at large. But we're more curious about why a standard criminal investigative team would seemingly be the sole faction charged with taking down terrorist Ari Heswari. Gibbs and his agents typically take on cases that involve far more standard crimes than counterterrorism. In fact, real-life NCIS does include counterterrorism efforts, but that wouldn't include a team like Gibbs. The NCIS group would probably have to undergo a lot of extra training dedicated to counterterrorism that would hardly ever come up in their day-to-day work. Even after all that, where exactly is the time to get all their other casework done if they're going after terrorists? The real-life counterterrorism portions of NCIS would take on a case like Aries, and it would probably take years of dedicated work and a lot of information sharing with other federal branches. It's a safe story arc, especially for the era in which it was originally aired. In the years following 9/11, counterterrorism and heavily inflated patriotism flooded the United States, making this a TV plotline that went over well with American audiences. NCIS spent some time in hot water when fans and critics started asking, is NCIS sexist? A lot of concerns over the show's depiction of women came about because of Michael Weatherly's character, DiNozzo. During the first few seasons, DiNozzo and Kate are constantly bickering about the differences between men and women, all while plopping women into two-dimensional stereotypical roles and behaviors.
Tony, how long have you been in here?
Long enough to know you can't sing, and you haven't shaved your legs in a week.
In later seasons, there's a pretty big shift in DiNozzo and the overall tone of the show, as audiences grew tired of watching the same prejudiced banter. Fans noticed a shift in NCIS personalities around Season 9, but instead of it being a step away from their initial portrayal in earlier seasons, which would probably mean multiple personality rewrites, the shift was designed to allow the show's women more depth, as opposed to the shallowness we'd previously seen. Apparently, Rules are loose guidelines when it comes to the NCIS workplace. Even someone like DiNozzo should know when to pump the brakes and start thinking with his head instead of his other appendages. DiNozzo has nearly no filter when it comes to talking to women, whether it be at work or when he's off the clock. But since what he does in his own time is up to him, we're more concerned when he's trying to pick up women while working cases. In Forced Entry, he and Kate are sent to question a suspect at a base hospital. When he approaches the desk to ask the lieutenant on duty about the suspect, he asks her out to a lunch date so he can go through some routine questions.
And this is my engagement ring, Agent DiNozzo. I brought my lunch.
Even after the rejection, DiNozzo continues to push by saying that engaged is not technically married and implies she's on the fence about her wedding. We cringe. Later, in Mind Games, he takes a female colleague's birth control pills and holds them in the air for her to retrieve like she's a child, all while saying that she couldn't possibly need them unless she's seeing someone. Not a great look, DiNozzo. Not great at all.